everybody, it's Ariana, Youth Initiative Coordinator at the Metal Museum. Today we're going to talk about Mokume-gane. Mokume-gane is a Japanese metalworking technique where artists layer different colors of precious metal together to create pattern in their work. Mokume-gane closely translates to wood grain metal, so let's see if we can spot a couple of similarities. Here's a picture of wood grain. Now here's a picture of a piece of work made with Mokume-gane. Do you see the similarities? Now that you know the definition of Mokume-gane, I'm going to show you an awesome activity that you can do at home where you make your own Mokume-gane using polymer clay. And we're going to make a dish and it's going to look just like this. I'm going to show you all the things you need and we're going to have a great time. Hi everybody, so you're going to need a couple of different things for this activity. You're going to need some polymer clay, a clay cutting tool, which I'm using an X-Acto knife. That might be a little sharp for you, but you can use a butter knife. A rolling pin. I'm using this big crochet hook that I have because it's perfectly sized for this activity. You're going to need a small jar to mold your dish onto. You're going to need some aluminum foil that is going to keep your clay from sticking to the jar, and you're going to need a round cookie cutter, a glass, or some sort of template to draw a perfect circle. So I'm using this coaster that I've got from IKEA, and I'm going to use that later on once I roll out my clay. You're going to need a baking dish or a baking pan, and you're going to need your oven preheated for 300 degrees. So I'm going to go do that really quick. Alright everybody, so like I said at the beginning of the video, Mokume-gane is layering different colors of metal to make different type of wood grain patterns in our work. So I'm trying to create these different dots and lines that we're gonna make into a pattern using our polymer clay. So the first thing I'm gonna do is cut my clay. So I'm gonna be really careful since I'm using an X-Acto knife. And I'm gonna break off 2 equal pieces of polymer clay. And then I'm gonna cut this into 3 separate pieces because I wanna use just that much to make my layers. Alright, I've got some extra that I'm actually also gonna use. So I'm gonna pattern that or fold that off into pieces that are similar shaped. So now I'm going to start to roll these out into circles like this. Right, and now I'm going to roll them out. So I'm going to roll them out, but I don't want them to be too thin. So don't make them paper thin. Make them just about that thick. That's probably 3 millimeters. Alright, so as you can see, I kept some of mine in little tiny spheres because I'm going to use this to do something really cool here in a second. So now that I've got all these like this, I'm going to start to layer them one color after the other. So I'm going to start with gold, and then do silver, and then another gold, and then do a silver. And this is really similar to how the artists in our show make their billets. A billet is like a small shape of metal that gets forged out later on. And I think I still need 1 silver layer so I can put that gold layer I have on. So now I've got this kind of chunk of layers. I'm just gonna roll that out a little bit. So I'm not pressing too hard because I don't want to blend these together. I just want to press it all together into a smushed layer. So now that that's a little bit flatter, I'm going to take my cutting tool and I'm going to trim off the sides so we can see our layers. So I kind of want those to be a little thinner, so I'm going to roll them out a little more. Like so. And now I'm going to do something really cool. I'm going to take the end of my cutting tool, you can use your finger, and I'm going to poke a couple of holes like this to drop in some more clay. And this is going to create something really interesting in our pattern. I'm going to roll up the scrap that I have here. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of a roll, but not too much. So now that we've got our layers sandwiched together, we're going to start to cut it off and make our Mokume-gane. So I'm just wanting to see what my layers look like this way. Alright, so I think I'm going to use the pieces of clay going this way. So I'm going to cut my clay into strips like so. So now I can look at all these cool layers that I got with my Mokume-gane. Awesome. So these little eyes are where I dropped in those pieces of gold earlier. So I'm going to arrange these in a line, just choosing where I want to see those fun features that I made. And so now I'm going to take this and try my best to smush them all together with my fingers. And then I'm going to go in with my rolling pin and roll them all out into a larger sheet. And this is going to smush all of those pieces together. I'm going to roll both ways. And we're connecting all of those pieces of polymer clay into one sheet. So be careful, it might get stuck to your table. I'm going to turn it and roll it this way as well. So don't roll too hard. You can see it'll get a little smushed if you roll too hard. You want this to be an even layer of clay. So now we can see that kind of echoes that wood grain texture that Mokume-gane has. And if you have a little rip, the best part is you can just push it over like that. Clay is very forgiving. Alright, so now that I've got this flat sheet that will give me just enough to make a dish, I'm gonna cut around this like so. So if you can't get all of your circle in, you can go in and add bits and pieces of your Mokume-gane just to make that a little more perfectly circular. And you have these leftover pieces if you want to do something really fun later and like embellish your bowl before it goes in the oven. Alright, so now that I have a circular shape and I've kind of smushed it so it'll be one piece, I'm going to get my jar and cover it with aluminum foil. And this is going to keep it from sticking to the jar. Alright, now I'm going to lift my piece of clay up easy so it doesn't rip. And I'm going to lay it in centered on top of my jar and mold it down smoothly into a dish shape. So pressing lightly like so. So you can see some parts might not be completely even. I'm just going to take my cutting tool and smooth those parts out like so. Taking little bits and pieces off that I don't need. Like that. I'm just going to use my fingers to smooth out that edge. And you can see all of my awesome layers that I've made. And then we're gonna go bake this at 300 degrees for 15 to 30 minutes. So it just depends how thin your polymer clay is. So set it to 15 and watch it. Make sure it's not turning any dark colors, but take it out at 30 minutes. So it might seem like it's underbaked, but once it sets in the cool air, I promise you it'll still keep its shape. So let's go do that. All right, everybody, I'm back over at my oven that's preheating to 300 degrees. As you can see, I've put my work on a baking tray. This is gonna allow me to put this on the middle rack really easy and not just put the jar in there by itself. So this is gonna give me something to hang on to when I come and get it after it's baked with a pot holder because it's gonna get hot. Make sure that you're setting your timer for 15 minutes. All right, everybody, so I took mine out of the oven at 15 minutes. It didn't need any longer. You can kind of see it's turning different colors up here, and I know that means it's done. I don't want it to burn. So I'm gonna let that cool for at least another 15 minutes just in case. Now that it's been 15 minutes of cooling time, you can pop your dish right off the bottom of the jar and the tin foil will peel right off. And you have a Mokume-gane dish. See, all of those awesome layers that we put in are still there. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys do this at home. Tag the Metal Museum in photos if you upload them. I'd love to see them.